Hello, my name is Adini. Today I will present the findings from a hands-on penetration testing lab where I used automated scanning to enumerate, access, and analyze vulnerability on the Caprix 2 level machine. I will detail my methodology findings and discuss the ethical implication of the vulnerability disclosures. Firstly, I booted up my Kali Linux VM and Caprix2 and ran an ipconfig command in the terminal to confirm my network is on host only. I initiated network enumeration from my Kali Linux VM using mmap access across the 192.168.56.0-24 subnet. The scan revealed 4 active hosts within the Caprix2 IP 192.168.56.101, showing multiple open ports, including SSH on port 22, HTTP on 80, HTTPS 443, MySQL 3306, and RPC bind, indicating a high value target. Based on the MAC address and the known labs setup, the IP corresponds to my Caprix 2 vulnerability machine. On the left, the ifconfig output confirm my Kali VM active interface and IP assignment, validating the scanning source. This enumeration step is critical for identifying exposure service and guiding subsequent vulnerability scan. I successfully installed Nicto on my Kali Linux VM using the apt-get install Nicto command. The terminal confirmed that the latest version is already present, ensuring the tool is up to date and ready for scanning. Verifying installation is a critical step in the flaw hypothesis methodology, as this ensures the scanner will produce accurate and actionable results during web server assessments. I ran a Nicto scan against the Caprix2 target to identify web server vulnerabilities. The scan revealed several issues, including outdated Apache versions, directory indexing, and exposed configuration files. The findings support my hypothesis that the system is misconfigured and vulnerable to known exploits. Nicto's signature-based approach makes it ideal for quickly detecting server-side flaw that could lead to information disclosure or unauthorized access. I installed and launched the WhatsApp on my Kali Linux VM to begin dynamic analysis of the Caprix2 target. The interface offered options for automated scanning and manual exploration, allowing me to intercept and analyze HTTP traffic in real time. ZAP's proxy-based architecture makes it ideal for identifying client-side vulnerabilities such as XSS and CSRF, and it allows system provides detailed insights into application layer flows. I use the WhatsApp to actively scan the login page at 192.168.56.101 and identified a high-risk SQL injection vulnerability in the uname parameter. The attack vector zap or 1 equals 1 dash dash successfully manipulated the backend query, confirming the flaws. The response header showed an outdated Apache and PHP stack, and the HTML form lacked input validation and secure coding practices. These findings showed that the application is vulnerable due to legacy configurations and missing server-side protection. I'm using this table to highlight how Nicto and OWASP complement each other during vulnerability assessment. Nicto is optimized for fast server-side scanning, helping me quickly identify outdated softwares, insecure HTTP methods, and exposed directory. OWASP goes deeper by analyzing the application layer, intercepting traffic, and detecting issues such as SQL injection, XSS, and CSRF. By combining both tools, I gain visibility into server misconfiguration and application logic flaws, which strengthen my flaw hypothesis methodology and support a more comprehensive vulnerability mapping process. Now, moving to the identification and summary of cross-site scripting. XSS is a major client-side vulnerability that allows attackers to inject malicious JavaScript into a trusted web application. This happens when user input isn't properly validated or sanitized, causing the browser to execute the attacker script as if it were legitimate. XSS can be reflected, stored, or DOM based, each with different delivery paths but similar consequences. The impact ranges from sexual hijacking and credential theft to full account compromise. What makes SSX particularly dangerous is that it executes directly into the user's browser, often without any visible sign. Effective defenses include strict input validation, output encoding, and implementing content security policy to limit what scripts can be run. Understanding cross-site scripting is essential for analyzing application layer vulnerability and strengthening overall web security posture. Cross-site request forgery (CSRF) is a high-risk application vulnerability that exposes the trust relationship between a user browser and a website. When a user is authenticated, their browser automatically includes section cookies with every request. CSRF takes advantage of this by tricking the user into unknowingly submitting a malicious request to a trusted site. This can lead to unauthorized actions such as password changes, financial transaction, or privilege escalation. What makes CSRF particularly dangerous is that the attacker never needs to compromise the user's credentials. They simply leverage the browser authenticated state. Effective defenses include anti-CSRF token, same-site cookie setting, and requiring re-authentication for sensitive operations. Understanding CSRF is essential for analyzing application layer vulnerability and strengthening overall security posture. On this slide, I installed Nexus 10.11.1 on my Kali Linux virtual machine using the official Debian package. The installation process included cryptographic integrity checks such as SH1, SHA1, SHA256, AES, and RSA, confirming the scanner's core components were securely deployed. After resolving initial syntax error, I successfully activated the Nexus daemon using systemctl start nexus d.service. The service status confirmed that Nexus is running and ready for vulnerability scanning. This setup lays the foundation for identifying system level and application layer vulnerability across the Kyatrix tool target. I configured a Nessus web application test scan targeting Kyatrix 2 at IP address 192.168.56.1.101. The scan is named my last name Kyatrix 2 and uses the web application test template, which is optimized for detecting OWASP's top 10 vulnerabilities. The interface provides granular control over scan behaviors through tabs like settings, credentials, and plugins. Under settings, I accessed subcategories such as discovery and assessment to fine-tune the scan scope. This setup ensures that Nessus will probe both server-side and application layer weaknesses. On the right side, I executed a Nessus web application test scan against Kyatrix 2 using the local scanner on my Kali Linux VM. The scan completed in 27 minutes and revealed a total of 94 vulnerabilities, including 2 critical and 27 high security issues. Although authentications failed, Nessus still was able to identify significant risk through authenticated probing. The scan used CVSS 3.0 scoring to prioritize findings, which will inform my flaw hypothesis and root cause analysis. This result confirmed that the target system is configured and vulnerable to multiple known exploits, reinforcing the need to layer remediation strategies. This Nexus scan against Kyatrix 2 reveals a broad spectrum of vulnerabilities, including critical and high severity issues across PHP, HTTP, and Apache components. The scan used the web application test policy and completed in 27 minutes. Key findings include multiple CGI abuses, cross-site scripting exposures, clickjacking risk, and browsable directories. The vulnerabilities span across plugin families such as web servers and port scanners, with CVSS version 3.0 used for security scoring. This result confirmed that the target system is misconfigured and vulnerable to both server-side and application layer exploits. This data supports my flaw hypothesis and guides the next phase of root cause analysis and mitigation planning. These critical findings confirm that the target system is running PHP version 4.3.9, which reached end of life in 2005. The lack of vendor support means no security patches are available, leaving the system exposed to known and emerging threats. Nessus assigned a CVSS SS version 3.0 score of 10, including maximum severity. The vulnerability affects both HTTP and HTTPS services and is categorized under CGI abuses. Remediation requires upgrading to a supported PHP version such as 8.1.x or later. These findings support my flaw hypothesis by demonstrating that the system relies on legacy components that are inherently insecure and unmaintained. This table summarizes the top 10 vulnerabilities identified during my Nessus scan of Gaprix 2. The most critical issue is the use of PHP version 4.3.9, which is unsupported and exposes the system to unpatched exploits. Additional findings include multiple cross-site scripting vulnerabilities, clickjacking risk, information disclosure, and browsable directories, all of which compromises application layer security. High severity issue in PHP, HTTP, and Apache components include systemic misconfiguration. These results validate flaw hypothesis and provide a clear roadmap for root cause analysis and remediation planning. My flaw hypothesis is based on the assumption that Gaprix 2 contains systemic weaknesses caused by outdated softwares, insecure configuration, and poor input validation. The Nessus scan revealed critical issues such as the unsupported PHP 4.3.9, multiple CGI abuses, cross-site scripting vulnerabilities, and browsable directories. These findings strongly suggest that the system relies on legacy components that lack modern security controls. I expect these flaws to create exploitable conditions such as remote code execution, privilege escalation, and information disclosure. My next step is to validate this hypothesis through target testing, focus on the web server, PHP interpreter, and CGI scripts to determine which vulnerabilities can be leveraged for deeper system compromise. On this slide, the vulnerability mapping connects each vulnerability to each observable behavior, potential impact, underlying cause, and recommended remediation. The pattern is clear. Gaprix 2 suffers from outdated software, insecure configuration, and weak validation controls. Unsupported PHP and Apache vulnerability versions create opportunity for remote code execution, while cross-site scripting, clickjacking, and information disclosure expose the application layer. Directory browsing and external URL exposure further expands the attack surface. The remediation column provides actionable steps ranging from patching and configuration hardening to implementing modern security headers that directly address the root cause and reduce overall system risk. This slide highlights how three major security tools, Nikto, OWASP, and Nessus, work together to provide a layered vulnerability assessment. Nikto focuses on web server weaknesses, quick identifying outdated versions, misconfiguration, and exposed directories. OWASP target the application layer, detecting issues aligned with the OWASP top 10, such as cross-site scripting, SQL injection, and cross-site request forgery through both passive and active scanning. Nessus provide the broadest coverage, identifying system-level vulnerability, missing patches, and configuration flaws across the entire host. Together, these two create a comprehensive view of the attack surface, ensuring that both server-side and application layered weaknesses are thoroughly evaluated. This root cause slide highlights a high-risk SQL injection vulnerability discovered using OWASP. The attack was successful against the uname parameter in the login form, allowing manipulation of the SQL logic using payload like OR 1 equals 1. The root cause is the application reliance on dynamic SQL construction without input sanitization or parameterization. This flaw enables attackers to bypass authentication and potentially extract or modify sensitive data. To remediate, the application must adopt secure coding practices such as using prepared statements, validating input server-side, and escaping special characters. This finding reinforced the importance of the secure development lifecycle practice and proactive vulnerability scanning. My choice of attack vectors was intentional and grounded in the evidence gathering during reconnaissance and vulnerability scanning. SQL injection was prioritized because OWASP confirmed exploitable input fields and boolean-based payload. Directory browsing and file exposure were selected based on the Nikto finding of misconfigured Apache directories. Nessus reviewed unsupported PHP and CGI components, making them ideal targets for code execution and privilege escalation. By aligning each attack vectors with a validated vulnerability, I ensured that my exploitation attempts were both realistic and strategically focused. This approach mirrored how adversaries operate in real environments, identifying the weakest entry points and leveraging them for maximum impact. This slide summarizes the legal, ethical, and industry framework that guides responsible vulnerability disclosure. Legally, researchers must avoid unauthorized access and ensure they do not violate laws like CFAA or DMCA. Ethically, the priority is protecting users, meaning vulnerability should be reported privately first to give the organizations time to fix the issue. Industry standards reinforce this through coordinated vulnerability disclosure, which typically allows a 60 to 90-day remediation window. My recommendation is to disclose publicly only after the vendor has been notified and given adequate time to respond. This approach balances user protection, vendor accountability, and transparency within the security community. Thank you for your time and have a great day. Goodbye.